The general public doesn't know their names. However, their contribution to Ukraine's fight is huge. Their support is appreciated both in the rear and at the front line. They are the ones who bring our victory over the enemy closer. They are the fellows of Ukraine. Hi, this is the Fellows of Ukraine project from You Donation. We want to tell about the people who have been helping Ukraine since the Russian invasion, despite being hundreds and thousands of kilometers away. We will tell their story through the prism of Ukrainian realities. Our guest today is Zenon Radewych, principal at WZMH. He has hired architects who fled Ukraine and is working on a technology that could speed up the rebuilding process in damaged cities. Hello, my name is Lisa and I'm going to ask you some questions. The first question will be about your life, like in general. Could you tell us a little about yourself? Where are you from? Where did you study?
Sure. So my name is Zenon Radewych. I was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. My parents were actually born in Ukraine and they came to Canada before World War II and after World War II. So I grew up, speaking Ukrainian first. That was my first language. And I come from a large family. I'm the youngest of five boys. I have four older brothers. And my parents, so there were seven of us living in a home. And I went to a university in Toronto called Ryerson Polytechnic University, and I studied architecture there. And right after finishing school, I started working in a small architectural firm and then a large architectural firm, which is WZMH. And I've been here now for almost 30 years. So my passion is very much the architectural industry, the built environment. I love everything about buildings and cities. And I would say in the last 5-6 years, my focus has really kind of moved towards innovation in our industry. So I spend a lot of time trying to look at ways to kind of improve the way that we design and draw the buildings that we're responsible for overseeing being built. But I'm also looking for new innovative ways to basically building those buildings. So I'm having a lot of fun right now, I would say, in my career in terms of the focus on technology, innovation, research and development, and stuff like that. And, I think I might be getting ahead of myself right now in terms of your questions, but, when the full-scale invasion started, I very much pivoted to looking for solutions to helping Ukrainians that were coming into Canada, specifically architectural people that have that background, but also looking for ways to help address what's happening in Ukraine in terms of the reconstruction.
And what influenced your decision to study architecture? Maybe your parents also studied and working in that field?
No, it wasn't my parents at all. I think I went to a high school in Toronto that was very technical based, and I took some very early courses in grade 9 and grade 10, drafting courses on drawing, technical drawings, and I really enjoyed doing that. And the whole idea of drawing very exact objects and technical details, that kind of led me to kind of going into this profession. So it wasn't so much parents, it was more about the high school that I went to and the courses that I was taking that actually I got really excited about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And how do you connect it with Ukraine? Do you have maybe Ukrainian roots or relatives or friends there?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, my parents, my mother and my father, were both born in Ukraine. So I have a lot of family in Ukraine. My wife, she's from Ukraine. She's from the Lviv area. So I have a lot of, I would call it direct roots back to Ukraine. And, I grew up as a Canadian Ukrainian where, I went to a Ukrainian school here in Canada for 11 years. Every Saturday I went to Ukrainian school to learn the Ukrainian language and history and geography. So I also grew up with a lot of Ukrainian friends. That's one of the beautiful things about Toronto as a city. It's very multicultural, so it's very easy to live here and be part of your heritage. Whether you're Ukrainian or you're Italian or you're Portuguese, there's all of these communities, and the Ukrainian community in Toronto is quite strong. So it was very easy to kind of grow up and have a lot of friends and go to cultural events and be a Canadian Ukrainian.
At what moment did you understand that you wanted to be involved in helping Ukraine in reconstruction?
The moment was the day that the war started. I think the full-scale invasion. When that started, I realized that this is going to be very big in terms of the destruction that I knew at that point that I need to do something, and I didn't realize that I would be trying to be involved in the reconstruction, but I realized hearing on the news and already kind of seeing people leaving the country that they'd be coming to Canada, and it was only a matter of time when I would most likely be reached by some Ukrainians that were seeking employment, and shortly after the end of February, I think already towards the end of March, early April, already people started contacting me and asking me if there were opportunities for employment, and it was after basically that we hired some Ukrainians at WZMH that I realized, hey, wait a minute, maybe we could kind of work on some reconstruction projects and do things like that. Now, one thing that's really important to note is, although we started getting involved in some reconstruction projects in terms of concepts, we realized very quickly that we could bring a lot of value add or support to Ukraine through education, meaning supporting students. So we've spent a lot of time on solutions for reconstructing Ukraine, but we're actually spending more time on engaging and working with students and even professionals to basically support them and give them hope, and through projects, and we actually pay them to do different things, to do research and things like that. So I would say half of our focus right now is on ideas for reconstruction, but half, maybe even more than half, is actually more dedicated towards education and students and doing projects with students to support them during this war.
How did that ideas for your projects come to your mind?
So it's interesting. One of our solutions is this prefabricated modular block we call Speedstack. It looks like a Lego block, and it's basically a concrete block that you stack to create a building. So we actually started developing this block, this idea, this concept, not for Ukraine, but for North America, to address the housing shortage that we have in North America. And we started working on it still, I would say, in November, December of 2021, when the full-scale invasion started and Ukrainians came to Canada, and we hired a few Ukrainian architects. They were working in our lab. We have a lab in our office called Sparkbird. They were working in our lab on that solution called Speedstack for North America. And it was, during the course of developing that idea that we realized, wait a minute, this can be used for Ukraine. And one of the young architects that was working on it, Yulia, she basically, really helped develop it specifically for Ukraine. And as we were working on it, she reached out to one of her architectural friends in Ukraine named Alex Phil. And so between Yulia and Alex, and then more Ukrainians joining our office, Evgenia, Anastasia, more joined our office, we realized, hey, wait a minute, this is a really good solution for Ukraine, and we started to kind of develop many concepts to use it for Ukraine.
Who helped you during your projects? Maybe you collaborate with your colleagues, with your friends?
Yeah, so I mean, internally in our office, many of us collaborated together. Myself with my partners, but again, the Ukrainian team here in Toronto really started to kind of increase in size. I think there's now 9 or 10 Ukrainians working in our office, many with an architectural background, some with a design background and graphics, some more on the social media side, management side. So they were really the ones, the Ukrainians, that kind of joined our team to really help and make this solution more, call it practical, more easy to kind of adapt for Ukraine. And then we also worked with a bunch of local, in Toronto, some local engineers, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical engineers, to also understand how to include their components in our Speedstack module. But again, we were doing a lot of work with a few architects in Ukraine, spearheaded by Alexander Phil. But also then we started working with some universities. So the university in Kyiv that we work with, one of the professors there, Andriy, kind of put together a class that actually helped us also kind of understand, and they studied some of the technical details on the use of Speedstack in Ukraine. So it became very much a collaborative effort between people in Toronto, very much Ukrainian architects, and people in Ukraine, both architects and faculty at universities.
Maybe you know what are the names of that universities that you collaborated with?
Yeah, so I could, let me send you the name, because a lot of the universities have very similar names. It's like, the Kyiv National
University.
Yeah, so I don't want to get the wrong name, but so I'll send you the name after the actual interview so that you have the proper name. But yes, it's one of the bigger universities in Kyiv. In terms of, maybe it could be Tarashenko. I'm not 100% sure, but it is a big school that and a lot of their focus is on construction and technology and architecture and engineering. But I'll send it to you, Lisa.
Okay, thank you. And how is the project developing now?
So right now we're actually working with a company out of London, England, called HRA. And basically, they're really helping us seek funding to basically build some pilot projects. So we want to test a few projects in Ukraine. And so they're looking for funding from around the world, from different organizations, to basically get a few modules built in Ukraine. So right now, we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of studies. We're at the point where we want to build a few mock-ups. But as you can imagine, things haven't been very easy in Ukraine in the last 6 months, with a lot of, missiles flying everywhere. So my personal opinion is probably a lot of the large-scale reconstruction will start to happen, obviously, when the war is over and Ukraine wins. And we all know Ukraine is going to win. Right now our focus has been more of the research, more of establishing contacts in Ukraine to support this solution. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we've really switched, I would say, gears and focusing more on education and supporting students. So, for example, we just did an architectural competition in Ukraine. We did an architectural competition for Ukrainian architects and Ukrainian students for a project in North Saltivka to basically rebuild buildings there using our Speedstack solution. So it was purely a hypothetical competition, but it was great because it supported both professionals and students. And we had, I think it was $12,500 in Canadian prizes that we awarded to the actual students and professionals. It's getting a lot of great media attention in Canada and North America, so it's helping promote those students and architects. So we're seeing that type of support is really of a lot of value right now. Maybe even more important than actually reconstructing some of those buildings, which we know is going to happen, on a large scale when the war is over.
Are you going to collaborate with our government, maybe?
So we are totally open to collaborating with the government. When we actually started some of our early work and we started communicating with Ukrainian students and architects, we actually started that process with the Ukrainian embassy here in Canada. So we reached out to the ambassador, Yulia Kovalev, and she actually and her staff put us in touch with many people in Ukraine, university officials and different organizations to help us collaborate. So I think the answer is yes. when the time is right for the reconstruction to happen, we will reach out to the government, and or if they reach out to us, we'll provide as much support as we can to basically, hopefully see these projects become reality.
Are you involved in any other volunteer movements?
Unfortunately, no, I'm not. I'm spending a lot of time on this. I would say that probably, half of my time during the week is spent on projects relating to, rebuilding Ukraine. Again, whether it's, the concepts or it's supporting students. So, is that volunteer work or not? I guess it is to some degree.
Of course.
But yeah, that definitely is my focus, to really to figure out ways to support Ukrainians back home. And I think the way that we're doing it right now is through these different competitions, and we actually do these things called design internship programs. So we started back in October with a few universities, and I could send you the names of those universities where, we hire 1 or 2 students from each university to basically do design and research work for us, and we pay them. So we pay them to actually do some work, and it's great, and they present to us every Friday, and it's, the team here in Toronto, the Ukrainians, they work with them and talk with them and collaborate and critique their work. So we're doing a whole bunch of initiatives, from the competitions to the design internship programs to just various different things that we're doing to do our part in terms of supporting Ukraine. And I think, one thing that's really important to us is again, the students and supporting the economy to basically help them. One thing I did not mention is in our office, we also developed some software applications, and we're working with a group out of Ukraine called UAIT Hub, and also a company called GART Technologies, who are all Ukrainians. And so basically, we've retained them to actually create some software apps for us. So again, we believe in those Ukrainians, very, very smart. They really, are probably #1 in the world in terms of what they do. And so I think, now's the time to kind of support them more than ever, and keep that brain power in Ukraine is kind of the way that we look at things.
Are there any government programs in Canada that would support initiatives aimed at rebuilding Ukraine?
To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are certain programs that are in place that will definitely help the rebuilding of Ukraine. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked into them, and maybe at some point I will. But right now, all of the work that we're doing, that we're supporting, is self-financed through our company and or some private donors that basically are supporting the work that we are doing in Ukraine.
In your opinion, can Ukraine count on an inflow of foreign investments in the future in the rebuilding processes?
I think 100%. I think, just based on my opinion and having spoken with and still speaking with many different individuals, both in the U.S. and in Canada, I think there's a lot of interest to want to basically go and help and rebuild. I've in the last year and a half, I've met a number of companies, Canadian companies, that have reached out to me, basically asking me if I could help them find contacts in Ukraine to donate materials, for example. So there's already companies that are donating construction materials for rebuilding Ukraine. So I'm 100% certain that when the time is right, when it comes down to the reconstruction process, you will see a lot of Western nations and companies line up to want to go and rebuild. And I think one of the key reasons too is the country is really wealthy in people that are smart, that hardworking people. There's Ukraine really, I keep telling everybody, Ukraine really has all of the right ingredients to be a real powerful nation, in terms of industry and technology and farming, all of these different things, right? So it really has all those bones, And I think, the reconstruction will only make Ukraine that much more stronger. So, and I think a lot of people look at it that way and realize the potential and the rewards and that'll come in place, when the country is reconstructed.
And could you tell us a little bit about your plans for the future? Maybe you have some new ideas for your future projects.
So our plans right now for the future are to continue doing what we've been doing, which is basically holding a number of competitions throughout the year. And one of our key rules in everything that we do and for these competitions is they're only open to Ukrainians in Ukraine. When we did our recent competition for Novoseltivka, we were approached by many architects and architectural students, non-Ukrainian outside of Ukraine, and asking, can they participate? We said, no, this is only open to Ukrainians in Ukraine. They're the ones that can only participate. So we will continue to do competitions. We will continue to do design internship programs. We're looking at doing a competition or an internship program that would include Canadian students through a Ukrainian-Canadian university club, combined with students in Ukraine. So we're looking at some collaboration. So we'll continue to do things like that. In terms of the future, I'm very much looking at opening some sort of called architectural practice in Ukraine when the war is over, but more with a focus on innovation. So not so much to go there and to basically design buildings, but to go there and set up a lab that's going to focus in on innovation and how to help the construction process become more efficient and safer. One thing I really want to state is I really truly believe that, again, Ukrainians have, everything that they need to rebuild the nation. They just need our support in terms of resources and money, but they have the intellect, the people. They have amazing architects, amazing interior designers, amazing engineers. So Ukrainians have everything. They just need us to support them, in terms of some, I believe, money and financial assistance when it comes time to rebuild. But I'm hoping that, people just don't go flock in there and try to take everything over. Let the Ukrainians do it. They can do it on their own. And so the idea behind opening an office in Ukraine would be more about the innovation side, the technology side, and complementing the work that they're already doing with some new ideas in terms of how to build these buildings, again, maybe in a safer, more efficient way.
By the way, have you ever visited Ukraine, or maybe you wanted to, or want to in the future?
I've been to Ukraine many times. I think the first time I went was in 1999 or 2000. And then I've been going almost every year since, maybe every second year. So the last time I was there was the year before COVID. So I've been there many times. I love Ukraine, and I really want to go again. And for the last year, I've been saying I'm going to go, but I just haven't had the time to go. But I'm hoping within the next 6 months I will be in Ukraine. But yes, I've been there many times. As I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of family there, both on my parents' side, but also on my wife's side. So it's a country and a people that are very close to me and dear to my heart.
We are waiting for your visit.
Thank you.
Okay, our interview is over, and I want to say that we are really grateful for your support. And it's very important for Ukrainians to understand that people from other countries want to help us.
Lisa, thank you very much. Дякую. Okay, take care, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more.